not 84, but to 60.
There's two instructions to go in here. Our 500, or whatever the number in this case would be. I mean, first of all, let's get the code laid down.
3 weeks ago, these 8th grade students had no knowledge of computing.
Going to 14 intermediate. What does that
Now they're preparing a computer program for solution of a business problem.
There. Yeah. Until we move that number down there, too. Wait, but then we'd have to have a 20. Yeah. How would that, would it be in between the codes?
Oh, look at this code, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then start the next one with 6, 7, 8, 9. Then it'd have a flag over that. That would tell us to subtract it.
Well, if it was well, then that would work out, because if it was a positive number, there'd just be one flag over it.
Yeah.
And that would work out, because we just put it in there. And if it's a negative number, there'd be a flag here also.
Yeah.
They already have mastered the concept of machine language instructions, but are not too clear on the logic of problem solving.
No, we want to add 5 to it.
We could do this better if we had a flowchart. Yeah. I understand how Mr. Crable does it in class, but how do I make a flowchart?
But how do I make a flowchart? In other words, how do I get a clear picture of the logic of the problem? A flowchart is just such a picture, in symbols, of the logical pattern of problem solution. But before that flowchart can be translated into a computer program, many mechanical details must be learned.
We knew that was the smallest.
Instructor Don Crable is meticulously demonstrating the action a single instruction causes the computer to perform.
It's all right. It's okay, but you're likely to have forgotten it there. You can see it.
A film documenting a previous class showed the teaching of computing to a group of gifted 7th graders. In this 1965 summer class, the students are a representative cross-section of the school's 8th grade population. Ultimately, the real teacher in a computing class is the computer itself. This class has been supplied with an IBM 1620, and the students are given every opportunity to use it.
Now, you have your account in there.
Dorothy Parkin, the instructor in charge of machine room activities, helps a pupil find and correct bugs in her code.
These are the accounts, the number and the balance. Is that code in there? See? 10,000. All right? Now, your code is to find certain words. Right? You just write some other answers to it.
The human teacher can guide their learning, but students soon discover that the computer demands perfection in its instructions. The machine isn't malicious, although it sometimes seems that way.
Because they go from 10,000, they fill out the second half of the machine. You don't want to type from 10,000 to 20,000 and 19,999. No, you just want to type the one that you found.
Let me spot a couple of flags hither and yon. We'll put one there, and we'll put one over here.
A paper representation of computer storage provided an introduction to the action of storage and stayed visible as a reminder.
And here. And let's put one here. Can I do that?
It just makes a negative number.
Say that again?
Makes it a negative number.
Makes what a negative number?
The number.
Which number?
13.
13 is now a negative number. The number addressed at 8 is a negative 13. That's correct. All right. Very good.
Number addressed 7 is a negative 61.
The number addressed at 7 is a negative 61. That's correct. Just to deconfuse the issue, let's do this. That's enough. All right, now I'd like to have someone tell me how I'm going to get the number 13 into cell, or into the area addressed at 19,998. and we branch back to 5012. Now the question is what, Pete?
Is there 0 in cell 1?
Is there 0 in cell 1? Okay, this is going very rapidly. Now, Don, what's going to happen?
It will branch back to 5012.
That's right, and do what?
See if there's a digit at 3.
And the question is, what's going to happen now, Lee?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there.
Right there. All right, so move this field flag 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 into there, correct? Good boy. And then we...
Carriage return.
Right, and then
Type.
type 4, which is a stop. All that for that. You're right. That's a lot of work, isn't it? And the only thing that we did there was type, instead of typing 00001, instead of typing that, we typed that. Now tell me which looks neater and better. Tom?
Well, now that you have that percentage, won't you have to branch back to get your other 3?
Sure. Get the other numbers.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're going up to 500 at least. It was on the other one.
Right. And the rest of that code, you see, is stretched out above and below this. You remember in the code that we had 2 instructions. We had a carriage return, which was simply a 34, and then a 38 instruction, right in the middle of the code. Now all of this, you see, would replace those 2 instructions.
To give the class some idea of the vastness and variety of the computing field, issues of the leading industry journals were given to the children.
$16,250.
Dr. Al Artuso, the superintendent of schools, dropped in to observe the class with the school's principal, Mr. Joe Day.
All right. Now, do not open the envelope until I tell you to. So each person has one, all right? All right, now listen carefully, because the instructions are exceedingly important. If you do it wrong, you'll be off on the wrong track. In this envelope, there are cards. Each card has on it a number. The cards are not arranged in numerical order. The task that you are going to perform this morning involves opening the envelope, spreading the cards out on your desk, and then gradually arranging them so that they are in numerical sequence. Now what we're really getting at now is a sorting situation. Here are some cards that are not in numerical order. Your task is to put them in numerical order. Now you know that this, you can anticipate that this is going to be very simple. There's no problem. Any child can do this, arrange these cards in numerical order. The real key to the problem is what you're going to do after you've arranged these in numerical order. Now, as you arrange them, you should be analyzing what you are doing. Because the second part of the exercise involves explaining to someone exactly how you arrange them in numerical order. All right.
Everyone knows how to put scrambled numbers in sequence, or does he? To some students, this was a simple, even obvious exercise. Most of them learned that they couldn't state explicitly how they put scrambled numbers in order.
The instructions that you write should be written for an English-speaking robot. I know nothing, I have no knowledge of my own. If you say, take the smallest card, I don't know what the smallest card is, because I have no knowledge. I have no knowledge. I can add, I can subtract, I can multiply, I can compare. But that's the extent of my ability. I am an English-speaking robot, and robots are not very bright.
Do teachers have an idea? Okay.
Perhaps two heads are better than one, or several heads. People can usually bounce ideas against each other to advantage.
Then halt. If not, then go on to the next instruction.
No, it's last card. If it is the last card, halt. And then you go to your next card. Then you want to branch back to instruction 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's last card, halt. But if it's not, then it will go on to the next instruction.
Last card, halt. If not, go on. So, take the third card.
Or take the next card. That's going to be the third card. It's the next card.
Yeah, leave it on next. Go to number 2. That is, take the next card and compare it with the first card.
Now read number 2.
Take the new card and compare it with first card.
Okay, now on number 7 say, go to number 2. Go to 2.
Okay, that's
We've run this now, I think, to the extent of where we want to go. You've had enough mutual discussion that I think you all understand the problem. Now, it's taken us this long to understand the problem. You haven't really begun on a solution yet. You're just beginning to understand the problem. See? If we expect this machine to be able to help us, and we hope it can because we have 50,000 numbers to sort. Well.
Each day, the teachers, along with Ed Winkenauer, the lab instructor for the class, met to discuss the class progress and problems.
The things that are going wrong are things like addressing number at its actual address, or modifying an address, modifying the number instead of modifying the address.
Yeah.
All of a sudden Friday, we changed the algorithm a bit, and by the end of the first hour, more than half the class had a code that was basically logically sound. That is, the overall picture had been assimilated. They were all messed up on second-level addressing, on supplying addresses and this kind of thing.
That's the part that I find when they get to the machine and it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because they haven't set up the series of addresses.
They think they're adding to the number and they're adding to the address or there's something else.
I just went through that again with Patty, and I'm not sure that she understood what I was talking about.
But this business of keeping track of it's the old story. What's the difference between the address and the contents of that address?
Well,
Now the class would try to put the sorting problem into computer terms.
Simple task. Put in order. Let's see if we can do this today. Step by step, you have 10 numbers and 1 space. Let's see if we can put these into numerical sequence. A step at a time. Now, your job involves moving a card and at the same time explaining why you moved it. Anyone interested in moving the first card? Peter, all right. Now. Yeah. Just over here. Wait. Hold the phone. Why did you pick up that card?
It's the lowest card.
It's the lowest card?
Yes.
How do you know it's the lowest card?
Because it's not speaking for it.
It's not. Go put it back. Go put it back over there for a minute. And now let's decide why you picked that one. All right? Why you moved that one with the smallest number.
And there's the problem. It's obvious that 206 is the smallest number. How can we make it obvious for a machine whose command repertoire includes only such things as add, subtract, branch on minus, and the like?
Patty, you had a suggestion. Would you show me how you would find the smallest number and get it moved over into this area here? 4 times we've been through this now. Is it beginning to form a pattern? You see how Patty first found that low order number, the lower number. She picked up the first one and went from there. Any sense out of this? Let's begin to draw a flow chart on the board. On this flow chart, what is the first box going to say, then, that you'd like to have here? Kathy? Good. Second. The second thing on the flow chart, Tom.
First card.
All right, or first number.
This one.
All right, what do you want to do with it?
Compare it to the one that has following it.
Good. All right, now we're cooking. A compared to B. Now, is that the first thing that went on?
Start comparing it with the rest.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get the box in there. All right. Now you can sit down for a second. Let's see if we can get somebody else to pick it up from here. Move B into A minus 1. That's way over there on the left. Okay?
You really have to compare it with the ones up to there because you already know it's smaller.
That's right. You don't have to compare it with the ones that have already been compared. You need to start here and finish out. That's correct. All right. Lee, would you like to take the next step now?
Well, I compare this number with this one. This one's still smaller. And I compare this one with this one. This is still smaller. So I compare it
So we say take the address that we have where we found the smaller number. Put that address in a transmit field instruction so we can move the field from there where we want it. You're putting addresses around here all the time, Steve. What you're saying is put Sam's address in Joe's mailbox so Joe will know where to send the letter. It's a double address change. Now, Sam moved, so be sure to put his new address in Joe's mailbox so Joe will send the letter to the right place. And you're continually telling Sam what Joe's new address is. This is by and large what's happening here. Maria?
Well, if you move the numbers, let's say you start at 10,000 with A, okay? Let's say you move it someplace like 500. All the answers. You don't have to do all that switching around with all the other numbers.
If you move to someplace else, you move? Right, instead of right here.
Right.
If you have to put them off somewhere else. If we have our original numbers stored above 10,000, you'd like to put the new ones rearranged down below 10,000. It'd be easier, wouldn't it? Sure it would. All right. What are we going to do now? Kathy?
Well, you want to keep comparing it with the rest until
But you want to start comparing this one.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So now we say 7.
Once the flowchart was developed, students worked separately on programming for individual machine runs. In this case, the instructions are written in machine language. Since the 1620 is a decimal machine with a fixed instruction length, its own language is convenient and easy to work with. Success at last. The routine works. It can accept any amount of random data and output it in sequence.
It's okay on the first address. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yes, no. Don't you think it's remarkable?
reader. So somehow we have to modify that, you see?
Oh.
Get the idea?
Uh-huh.
You can, right. You got the idea. What I want you to do, though, is come up with a little short code so that we can load these numbers into storage, one after the other.
No matter where we put the code?
Not apart. Why don't you put it at about 2,000? That way it'll dodge most things. Yeah. Pardon?
The yellow cards and stuff?
We'll have a loader in front of it then, too. Okay? Got the idea? Okay. And use your community resources. Right?
Okay.
3 heads.
The questions are beginning to fall in order. What is the problem? In other words, is it completely and precisely defined? Do I know how to solve it? Can I state that solution in flowchart terms? Can I capitalize on the repetition involved in the problem? And so on.
That's 2,000, right? Just a zero.
That's 20,000.
And then from zero. That's it. We're doing it hard? We're doing it hard? Mr. Mulder, please? Does that look all right?
Well, let's see.
These are the numbers that we want to store in the machine. And that's the routine that we wrote so that the card reader can go back and read the cards over and over again.
All right, well, let's try it.
Last card.
Now, you load it, and we'll see if it works. All right. And it only put a few numbers in, I assume, because we're at 48 already. And you have a 48 in your program, so it's default. So I guess I better check and see if you have the numbers in there. And where did you put them?
2,000.
You put the code at 2,000. Where did you put the numbers?
10,000.
10,000. Okay, let's look. Now, we're at 48. So that means you got to the end of your program. We want to see if you got all of your numbers in it. Okay? All right? So we'll type it out. And we'll see if the numbers are there. Now those the right numbers? Okay. And it should default if you put a record mark. And you did want a record mark. Okay, good. All right, then your whole problem worked, didn't it? Good. Okay, you got the right numbers in it. Yeah, worked fine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, don't forget to get your deck.
What is
During the summer, many guests dropped in to observe the class. Among them, Grant Carey, television coordinator for the Los Angeles school system.
Is this something that was just started today?
Oh, no, it's an old one. But I have to clean it out and get ready for the new one. This one.
Will you actually put this on a machine for solution?
That's what I plan to do. If I can get in there today, then I just have to leave it in the folder.
Was this your first one?
No, this is, well, this, on the chart back there is a number of problems that we do. This is 6-1.
How many do you expect to run in the class?
As many as I can.
Other visitors were the editor of Datamation, Robert Forrest, and assistant editor Heidi Hess.
You understand what I'm doing?
This is Margaret Milligan, editor and publisher of Data Processing Digest.
Now, what did you put in the punch card machine over here?
Oh, I put in a program of approximately, I don't know,
Open House. The first opportunity for the pupils to show off their new knowledge to people unfamiliar with computing. Parents are usually somewhat astonished to find out how much of a technical subject their offspring have absorbed in 6 weeks. So was Ralph Ray, systems engineering manager for IBM.
We haven't tried taking a normal sample from the school population before. We've always worked with very But the object of the program is to see how much they can learn about the computer. We're working 2 hours a day and 5 days a week for 6 weeks, so we have 60 hours. 60 hours of working with an instructor. Do they do anything at home? Well, they have been doing some at home, yes. But most of the work has been here in the room and on the computer itself.
What was learned from this class? And what part of what the students learned will be retained? The mechanical details of the machine and its language will be gone very soon. Hopefully, they should appreciate the need for precise problem definition. Their work with the machine concerned simple problems, but the methods learned would apply to longer and more complex problems. They should now view the computer as a powerful tool, obedient to its user's commands.
Put that down.
Perhaps it is now clear how to deal with a problem situation with a computer. How to make that flowchart.
Press reset. That gives the machine